In the accompanying long-form presentation, the history of vet futures was explored. And now that the Action Plan 2016 to 2020 is out of date, a call to review is made in the presentation, along with recommendations for new and key strategies and partnerships in order to improve upon the pabulum already served up to us in the name of vet futures. This explainer video looks at two aspects of vet futures which have received little or no attention. The first is the funding of vet futures and the value created. The second is the responsibility vet futures has had in creating unrealistic expectation and entitlement for a generation of veterinary surgeons. RCVS and BVA often refer to vet futures, and, whatever it is costing something in terms of time and resources. The time costs must be substantial, since anything from vet futures is progressing at a snail-like pace, and has gone well beyond the timeline of the action plan. But, no one is keeping track of progress, and more importantly, no one is evaluating and correcting those responsible for the time it has taken to achieve anything of note. This is because those responsible are not identifiable, and are therefore not accountable. Thus, vet futures exists without temporal references, in a bubble, in which it is entirely self-regarding, without targets for completion, and, crucially, no one is keeping track of this as a temporal cost. Why is this a reasonable way to run vet futures? The funding of vet futures is also obscure. RCVS are spending most, but the costs of vet futures and its associated projects are not kept as a detailed cost center by RCVS. The CEO of RCVS will only say,
"We and BVA divided up tasks and they entered our respective strategic plans and were funded from our budgets accordingly."
But there is no detail of this in the published accounts, and the CEO will go no further. The expenses associated with vet futures are not just those of the overarching theme, but also the costs of RCVS staff time, RCVS secretariat services, and counsellor time. The retention fees paid by veterinary surgeons to RCVS generate more than £10 million each year, and is the most important component of RCVS annual income. Surely there is a fiduciary responsibility at RCVS to report in detail on how those funds are spent, and, if it is truly our Royal College, then why is RCVS so coy about how it spends those funds on this flagship? When time costs and accurate funding costs are known, we, as a profession, can make a judgment on the value of vet futures, and it may be the case that we can see good, or even reasonable value. All stakeholders will be happy, and vet futures can continue. But, the profession, as stakeholders, may, alternatively, judge that vet futures is poor value. Under those circumstances, it might prove useful for some that the costs remain obscure, because the last financial fiasco at RCVS resulted in the departure of senior members of staff. Obscurity will serve the purpose of self-preservation. Whatever the reason for costs being unavailable, no one, not even the CEO, can truthfully claim that RCVS is being transparent about its pet, vet futures, and that is problematic. The out-of-date Vet Futures Action Plan set any number of goals, but a consistent theme was one of creating an expectation that veterinary surgeons and undergraduates could have, and should expect to have, the opportunities to progress through their careers along any number of career paths. This is a very nice thing to tell our students and junior colleagues. There is, of course, a gain in being nice, where we recognize that being nice to people is better than not being nice to people. But, this is also problematic. If you don't talk about, or explore the reality of this expectation, if you don't explore the difficult and painful parts of our careers, in effect, abandoning complete truth, you can end up relying on little lies or untruths, in order to support, and perpetuate, the themes vet futures wish to develop. It is an easy thing to tell our colleagues, at the outset of their careers, that they can have everything, that they are entitled to opportunity, and can expect progression. It is a nice thing to tell people. It is a very encouraging thing to tell people, but it is also a little bit untrue. There is nothing in Vet Futures which cautions as to the reality of our careers, that career progression is not linear, and not always upward in respect of status, rewards, eminence, or anything. This is, of course, because, in truth, there is no entitlement to this progression in any sphere of our profession. Personal qualities, motivation, willingness to take risks, willingness to make personal sacrifices, having patience, and competence are what create merit over others. And the opportunity for advancement. In any given competitive career moment, if there is a measurable deficit in any of these areas compared to another individual in that group, then someone loses out. By creating an illusion, albeit very nicely, of career diversity and certain progression, then, when reality hits, those who are thwarted or who stumble, have to deal with the existential dissonance between their expectations, as created by Vet Futures, and their reality. The not quite truthful effect on our colleagues, on their expectations and aspirations, as created by Vet Futures has not been discussed. Discussion of this would seem prudent, at the very least, but there is no forum, and no mechanism for correction, let alone the chance to find anyone associated with Vet Futures, who could be seen as responsible for the little lies being peddled. This may yet come to be Vet Futures' greatest oversight. On that note, this concludes our presentations on Vet Futures. We, as a profession, should all look forward to a review of Vet Futures, in order to give it utility to us. We are, after all, paying for it, whatever it is. See you next time.